if somebody feels alone on their journey right now, you were mentioning some things they could do. What are some other advices, like a piece of advice that you would give to somebody? Because as you are separating yourself from status quo, as you're moving into the totality of yourself, it can feel like a lonely path. What advice would you give to somebody going through this?
That's a question I really love. I'm not young anymore. I'm 73. And one thing I know is if I'm given the gift to live longer, that can feel even lonelier sometimes because life changes so much. One of my favorite parts about our book is the heartwarming story that emerges between Dwayne and me. We really never had a chance to know each other, even though we saw each other for many years at some conferences we attended. And it's no less than a miracle to me that we connected the way we did so many years after those conferences in an email message that I wrote from my heart at a deeply difficult time, loss of a neighbor and friend. And that Dwayne, for whatever reason, reached into his heart and wrote like a 2-line message back to me in a way that was just what I needed when I got home from the funeral that night. And I just couldn't believe it. It just was just the water I needed. And I wrote back to him, and then he wrote back to me. Well, we began to develop a trust in each other, and we hadn't seen each other for years. And this was just through email messages. Well, over time, when I knew that he was experiencing something really heartbreaking and difficult, and we were building that trust between us, I thought about what I had written after my sabbatical in the woods. I thought it would help him to have it for some reason. I thought he'd kind of know what's most important to me if he read that. He was kind of looking for ways to get to know me better, and I thought that would probably be the best he could have. And maybe somehow I would help him. But boy, I sure was surprised when he read it the same day he got it and got back to me right away and said it was helping him already. It was an answer to prayer. Well, that led to our continued connection together. And we read books together. I have this thing I sort of believe in about myself. I think I'm intuitive about whether a book might be helpful to somebody. So I would send Dwayne books, and I still do. It's something that gives me a lot of joy because not all the time, but most of the time he says, boy, just what I needed. And then we'll read some of those books together. And we continue to write those email messages about what's happening in our own hearts, what's happening in our days. They're really a form of journaling is what they are. But when we can do that, no matter where I am, when I can have a spiritual connection like that in a trusted friend like Dwayne, I never feel alone. And it can get very lonely sometimes when, I don't have a workplace to show up to every day. I'm in a different time in my life. I'm called to do different kinds of things. And one of the things that I do a lot of during this great pause time is have phone connections with people so that we can share what's going on for us at this time. How are we navigating this time? And what are the most difficult parts of it? I think people are making very difficult choices sometimes, and we need each other. We need each other. So, the way that I like to talk about it is, if I can take somebody's hand, somebody will give me their hand, then I'm not so alone, no matter what I'm experiencing. And especially if we can share what's in our hearts and we can connect in with this journey of this precious life we've been given, no matter what's going on around us. Every day that we're given is a blessing, is a gift. And if we can share in that blessing in some way, our hearts get nurtured, we're not alone, and it's amazing what we can experience in our day in a way that maybe we would have missed if we hadn't had that connection together. So I find ways to have those kinds of connections in my life. And I have to tell you, that has made the most significant difference, especially during the hard times. And there have been many. I mean, I didn't just leave the woods and everything was perfect from then on. No, not the case at all. There were many hard times, and there will continue to be many hard times. And this COVID time is a hard time, but I know I'm not alone in it.
Thank you. That's super super incredibly helpful, because we can be surrounded by a lot of people, but we feel alone, and it's about feeling seen. Allowing that your heart to be seen, your heart to be heard. It's super super important.
You
So
know, Luis, I'd say one other thing.
tell me.
Um, my morning time, that time when I connect with my own heart, and I remember to really care for myself in that way and get in touch with that love that's in my heart. I think that if I nurture my own self-love in a disciplined way every day, what I believe and have learned is that the relationships I have with others are different. They're more full. They're more filled with synchronicities, surprises that can show me, I want to say, where this force field is. There's some kind of a field, some kind of a life force that if I can touch it in my own heart each day, then all the connections I have with people, the companions I have in my life, there's a greater grace that flows through those. And in that way, I learn so much and I grow so much. So I wanted to connect the time in my own heart with the connection of the hearts of the people that continue to help me grow.